Ooh. Are we recording?
Yes, go for it.
Great. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to the beginning of our Study Abroad Quest Week. And this is the first of our week of activities devoted to finding the right kind of study abroad opportunity for you and getting the most out of that kind of study abroad experience. I know a lot of people are very, very excited about the ability to start traveling again soon, and we want to make that happen in the most useful and helpful way possible. So I am Dave McAvoy. I'm the Global Learning Coordinator here with Global Initiatives, and with me is Kevin Fitzgerald, our Superstar Study Abroad Advisor. And so today we've got just a few things that we're going to go over. This is sort of the start of your quest. It's a way of sort of building your character sheet and setting some goals for yourself. So we're just going to be rolling for some adventure. We'll start by discussing the character sheet that is part of this quest and using that as a way of guiding exactly what you're going to be doing as you start the study abroad experience. After all, one of the things people often say about studying abroad is that it helps to build character. So we're going to help you do that in a very literal way with your character sheet today. And then we're going to start focusing on the kinds of goals that you can set for yourself and explain why that's so important and how that can help you to determine the kind of experience that is best for you. So we'll start in the document that Kevin shared in the chat below. There is a fillable PDF with a great deal of information on it. And if you sort of look at the top right-hand corner, you'll notice that it says top 6 traits or skills for education abroad. And that's what we're going to be starting with. That's going to be the sort of foreground for how we develop ourselves and think about what kind of experience is right for us. Everybody goes into the study abroad experience with a different set of experiences, a different set of qualities, and a different set of things that they want to build, right? And so you really need to think about those very carefully before sort of jumping into these kinds of experiences. So we're going to start there, and we're going to start with what I think is a very basic question, but can actually be a really difficult question. All of you have probably been in job interviews or have heard of job interviews where somebody says, hey, what are your top 3 strengths? And it's really hard to just come up with an answer right off the top of your head like that. So I like to try to add some additional elements to that question to sort of reframe that and get us thinking in new ways about that question of what our strengths actually are. What are the skills that we hold? What are the top qualities that we can have that help us to be successful in intercultural situations abroad or at home? And so some of the questions that I like to ask are, well, what are some of the qualities that you have that have helped you to overcome obstacles in the past? How have you been able to develop your skills? Have you done it through schooling? Have you done it through certain kinds of experiences? Have you done it through on-the-job training? Have you done it by actually doing? Have you done it through volunteering? Right? These are the kinds of things that can help you determine what kind of study abroad experience you want as well. What do you find comes easily to you? These are things that we don't often think about all the time, but these are the things that you should be developing even more, right? If they come easily to you, build that. That's a key strength, and you can make it even stronger. So let's say you have a great facility with languages, or you're incredibly sociable. Those are really useful things to know when you're developing your own study abroad experience. I am not particularly great with languages or particularly sociable. So those are the kinds of things that I would not necessarily be thinking of when I'm thinking about what I want to do studying abroad. Think of a time when you responded to a challenge in a way that made you feel really on top of things. What qualities or skills were necessary at that moment? right? What have you done in the past that really worked and that made you feel like you could just do anything or at least conquer any kinds of obstacles that were in your path, right? You're going to be encountering a lot of obstacles when you're abroad. So you want to think about the kinds of things that can help you navigate those challenges and help you feel really resilient while you're dealing with them. If you had the opportunity, what would you teach others? When now or in the past have you felt like you were making a difference or making a contribution? How did you make this happen? And then finally, what inspires you? Right? These are the kinds of things that you want to ask yourself, and that can help you to fill out those six big qualities or traits or skills that you already have that you can say, yes, these are the things that are going to help me through the experience in a place that I've never been before, and that I can actually use this experience to build on even more, right? How do your strengths help you to be a part of your community? Right. Now, here's a list of possible strengths or skills or qualities that you can sort of keep in mind as you're filling out your chart. This is in no way extensive in any way, but this just happens to be a list that I've come across and have used in the past when sort of helping students to think about the kinds of qualities that are necessary to be appropriate and effective in situations where they're dealing with people and places with different cultural backgrounds, right? It's useful, for instance, to be humble. It's useful to have integrity. It's useful to be analytical. It's useful to be trustworthy, but also cautious. These are all very useful skills to have. And we all have some of them to a greater or lesser degree. So, which ones of these are the most useful for you and would you like to build upon for your own experiences? I'm just going to leave this up here for just a second so that you can sort of scan this list for just a little bit longer. But of course, this entire presentation will be available for viewing later as well. So you can definitely come back to this list or come up with a list of your own as well.
Yeah. A list for inspiration.
All right, and now I'm going to kick it off to Kevin to talk about how to play to your strengths.
All right. So we just explored a little bit about ourselves and what we like to think about when we are setting goals for study abroad. One is that these strengths are things that we already have that we're going to bring with us. And just like any great adventurer, we all know that we need other strengths to help us along. Perhaps, like Dave was mentioning, we are into languages or we're really looking to enhance our architectural skills, our psychology skills, our intercultural communication. We all know that we have weaknesses as well. But really, why we're choosing the idea of strengths is that they will help us set those goals and, like, okay, how do I use those strengths in order to gain more skills and strengths in other areas? So if you can see, what we did is we just focused in on that character sheet that we gave you. And it's called Choose Your Own Adventure. It's down at the bottom right of that same page. And it's kind of like, okay, we've already identified some strengths. Now, how can we use those to help us narrow down where we're going to go and how to best choose that program? Right. So through this whole worksheet, we're really just trying to help us get to know ourselves better so that when we're starting to look through our program options, we know which ones might be a better fit for us and help us reach our goals and which ones might not help us reach our goals. Dave, I don't have power to move it forward, so
Yeah,
if you don't mind helping me along, I appreciate
in
that.
fact, I'll just get all of these
So
questions up there.
what are some locations that can help you develop those skills? So we have our own Luxembourg program. Luxembourg is really an ideal location for those students who perhaps have never been abroad before or are timid to go abroad, but yet they feel comfortable at Miami. They've settled in, they're in their second year, or perhaps you have some strong friendships that have already developed and they're thinking about going with you. That can really help enhance the Luxembourg experience and help you perhaps become more social or feel more comfortable with independent travel outside of the Miami bubble, as we all like to call it. Or perhaps you are really into the French language and the French culture, and you don't want to go to Paris. So perhaps one of our exchange programs that we have in a smaller town in France could be the perfect fit for you, right? So that's where like location of like, okay, what's my strength? I already have French, but perhaps I need a smaller town to really be engaged in the language and the culture. And then what type of experience, right? So perhaps you have never been abroad before and you want to stay a little bit closer to home and you don't want to go abroad that long because you just want to kind of try out and see what that experience is like. We have these amazing winter and summer term programs. They're very short, 2 to 3 weeks. You go abroad, you get exposed. Was that something that excited you? Did you have an experiential, educational engagement that got you more excited to travel farther, or perhaps it really satisfied the itch of yours to get abroad and try something new? It's kind of like, okay, what am I looking for, and what fits with my, again, my strengths. And then also what coursework. We have some students that come to us and they absolutely need a capstone, or they absolutely need courses within their major or minor. Perhaps you were a sophomore, perhaps you were a junior and you decided to switch majors, and now you really do need to focus on coursework. And then we also were just talking today as a team about internships. Perhaps you want to hone your skills for a career and you're really into the fashion industry. Or one of our study abroad programs in Milan has been very popular for that. Students can go there, they're learning Italian, they're learning some business skills, but they're also doing an internship, perhaps in the fashion industry. And those are things that, again, you're like, okay, my strength is perhaps I like design work, I like drawing, and I love the smell of leather. Well, all right. So how do we put that all together to start honing some of your other skills for your career? Okay. Then also we like to set these goals, right? So when I am working with students, a lot of times, I will ask you, why do you want to go abroad? What are you really looking for? Language is usually a top one, intercultural communication, learning more about that. Perhaps it's heritage, right? Perhaps you want to go to Mexico and do an internship because your great grandfather or grandfather were from Mexico and you've kind of lost the connection back there, but you would like to go back to where the Gonzalez family came from, and perhaps that's what you're excited about. Um, so as you're setting these goals, you really need to think, okay, so I'll use my own personal experience in this example. So for me, I really wanted to enhance my Spanish language skills, but I'm not the greatest student in the classroom. But I also love to talk and hang out with people and communicate. Dave had mentioned he's not as sociable, but I'm certainly one of those people who likes to talk and I'm okay with fumbling over my words. And I found that me being immersed in a Spanish language helped me really achieve my language. But then also I um, am fallible, just like all of us, and really started hanging out with more of my English speaking friends, the other students I was on the study abroad program with. And then all of a sudden I wasn't using my past tense that I just learned in the classroom that very week, and I wasn't using it well, or I had some errors slipping into my language. And then I had these goals of like, you wanted to increase your language, and it got me back into the classroom. It got me to settle down, to work through my homework and my worksheets a lot better, so that I could keep that as a mile marker for my achievement. We really want you to set goals before you leave, because again, you can get lost once you're in the moment, get all excited about what you're doing. And that's why we use them as mile markers to kind of reflect back on, like, how am I doing? Am I achieving that goal? So even if you go abroad for a whole semester, most of those programs are only about 110 days. So it's kind of crazy to think like every day that is passing is 1% of your study abroad or 2% of your study abroad. So that all of a sudden you've been there for 2 months. And what is that? That's 60% of your study abroad experience might have already gone by. So it's a great time to sit down, reflect. Am I doing well? Am I achieving my goals? Is this the location for me? Is there something that I can do now to kind of outsmart myself? Just like perhaps you set out your clothes the night before you have a big interview, right? Because in the morning it takes you a while to wake up and you're getting prepared. You need to outthink yourself and just be ready. So we have you starting these activities early on so that when you get to a middle point or perhaps a quarter point, you're able to reflect back on them to make sure that you're staying on track.
And I would just add to that, I think it's always really, really useful to keep a record of your goals, but also a record of how you've been achieving those goals, right? I think it's useful to keep a journal, right? Take a small video of yourself on your phone every couple of days to say, hey, this is what I've done. And then by the end of it, you have this record that you can look back on to say, yes, this is how far I've come. And then you can use that toward any kind of career path that you have going as well.
Well said, Dave. And you had mentioned that earlier about interviews. Well, guess what? You're always going to have interviews. Either way, even it might be just you coming home and your grandmother's like, "How was it?" Perhaps those are some things that you will be able to reflect on. And then I talk to students all the time, or 2, 3, 4 years removed from their experience, and all of a sudden, some moments mean a lot more to you. And having a record of that, either written or like Dave was suggesting, just a short video really helps to one relive those moments, but also two is keep them fresh so they become prime examples for interviews, for conversations, perhaps writing points in the future. Fantastic. So we are really helping you to get the idea of what goal setting looks like. We've given you a worksheet to start finding some of your strengths, your skills, and your traits that you have that you want to bring with you. So how can you keep going and roll the die of your life, if you will? Um, and that is, we are here. We're a full staff of academic advisors, and this is like the heart of the matter and why we do what we do. We love to work with students one-on-one. We like to ask you the right questions, start probing to figure out what could be the right program for you. Are your goals for going abroad achievable? How can we work with you to create them to be more exciting and find the right program for you as well? We have a fantastic Education Abroad website for you to explore, resources on there, other good information as well. You can find some information on scholarships to study abroad. And then also talking to family and friends. A lot of times we'll have students that come in and parents perhaps studied abroad in our Luxembourg program, or perhaps as students, they as well went to France, or, they have regrets. Like I've sometimes parents are like, oh, the one thing I was not able to do in my undergraduate experience. Same with friends. We have a lot of students who will tell about their experiences, perhaps in Rome, or perhaps in Buenos Aires, or in Ecuador. Very amazing experiences all around. And finally, we really want to make sure that you are finding the best program and experience for you, so that you reflect back on this educational time abroad, both as a career enhancer, as a personal enhancer, and that it also helped you academically and to achieve all the goals that you had set out. So use our office. That's what we're here for, to be a resource for you to keep exploring along with us. Fantastic.
Uh, any questions from any of the students who are
Yeah.
here?
You can feel free to put it in the chat, or feel free to speak up.
Hi, I have a question. I'm looking for where I wrote them all down. Uh-oh. Okay, well, anyway. Hello again. My name is Taryn Scott. I'm a first-year student. I'm pursuing 2 majors in diplomacy and global politics and the other in sustainable development. So I guess what I'm looking for in a study abroad experience, whether it be for sophomore year or junior year, not sure yet. Um, I'm looking for like does Miami help you obtain internships when you choose a study abroad program?
Fantastic question. We usually try to gear students towards the right program, right? So for our Luxembourg example, while they're on site, if you do choose to integrate an internship into your study abroad semester, the staff there at Luxembourg would help find the right fit for you. And the same would go for
Oh,
any of the other experiences that you choose. Usually, because we as a staff are here in Oxford, Ohio, helping you find the right program. But in each one of those locations around the world, there's staff there who are way more connected with the local scene to be able to make sure that your internship's the right fit for you.
okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Another question. So I know like right now with the pandemic and everything, there are a lot of Miami students who are attending Miami, but like they'll live in China. Would it be
Mhm.
possible to like if we study abroad and like the school where we're studying doesn't necessarily offer the courses that fulfill our major, can we still take online courses at Miami and live abroad?
Yeah.
Because I'm also biliterate, so like I plan to study in a Spanish speaking country. Um, and I don't know I don't know if I can take all of my, like, political science classes in Spanish. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Um,
Sure.
but it'd be nice to live in Spain while also studying at Miami virtually.
Yeah, fantastic. Great question. We do have a lot of students that are interested in that. So based off your personal interest, right, your goals, if you will, to study abroad is to live in a Spanish speaking environment, to speak Spanish, but to still perhaps have some classes in English.
Mhm,
So one of our options that we would have is our co-sponsored program in Sevilla. You're at a study center, and that study center would have courses in English, but then they also have the opportunity to study at the Universidad de Sevilla, which is almost down this, right across the street. So you could go there and take a political science class in Spanish, all in Spanish, or a language course. So therefore, you're like the blend of both worlds, right? So you are just explaining, your strengths, right? Or you're
right.
wanting to learn the language and the culture, but perhaps you're not as strong in fully skilled in the language, right? So you want to have like a balance, and there's programs
Mhm.
that can do that for you.
Cool.
I
Okay, and you
really
said it was Sevilla?
yeah.
Okay. Cool, yeah, I'll look into that one for sure.
A lot of students come to us with questions, and I always like to say that study abroad is a full human experience, in that like all the diversity and beauty that humanity is really represented in study abroad. In so much that any student that comes with us and say, oh, I have a dietary restriction, or perhaps a learning disability, or perhaps language and skills, like there any need or kind of anything that you bring to the table, study abroad is really able and flexible to match and to fit and try to find the right program for
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you so much, Dave and Kevin.
you. Absolutely. Thank you for attending. We appreciate it. Anybody else have any other questions? That was fantastic. If not, no worries. Certainly reaching out to our office at any time. We're always here to help you and help you start exploring the world on your quest to finding the right study abroad program. All right.
I do have another question.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
So, so with like the travel advisories and everything, so how will Miami work around that kind of thing or, take that into account when offering like study abroad options? Because I've seen like a lot of countries in South America are still like on the like high risk travel advisory. And Spain, I think I haven't checked recently. I'm not sure like its status. So
Mhm.
how is the pandemic gonna affect our choices
Well, Dave, I'm
or
sorry I keep
options?
answering these. Is
Mhm.
that okay? Okay. Well, we do not have a crystal ball for what the future holds, unfortunately. But we are planning that hopefully we are all vaccinated, or vaccines continue to roll out, including throughout the developing world as well. Um, but things are looking on the up. Everyone is feeling very optimistic. And we do have a full health and safety team behind the scenes that are currently looking at issues of travel warnings, of travel advisories, of current cases that are going on. um, Miami likes to, obviously we want you to have a safe and successful study abroad experience. But we felt confident enough about what's going on in Europe that we have been hosting our Luxembourg program nonstop throughout the pandemic, and have been very successful in, the social distancing, the quarantining, et cetera. A lot of the program providers that we work with are also in the same vein of taking the precautions that we're all hoping that everyone is taking, including the quarantining, social distancing, et cetera. So certainly if you chose a location, or you were exploring a location that you wanted to go to, your health and safety would be under consideration, taking in advisories, et cetera. And like I had mentioned earlier, there's a lot of people who are already on site, so they can also talk about on-site conditions more than us in Oxford, Ohio, being able to extrapolate what the rest of the world is looking like right now.
Okay, that sounds, yeah, that sounds really good. So the Luxembourg program has still been happening throughout the pandemic and everything since we've been back on campus second semester.
Yeah, absolutely. They were there last
Oh,
fall and they're currently there right now.
wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yep. It's the benefits of having a program over 52 years in one location. A lot of good connections to be able to help us run that program. Yeah. Um, okay. And then in the chat, our wonderful webmaster, Karen, just posted, we do have a website and a hashtag if anybody has any other questions or were looking to search for more information. Appreciate all your time and attending today. And this should be posted about midweek back on our website or so. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Dave. Well done.
Thank you, Kevin.